We don't want to talk to you about the safety of our customers. What a curious statement. This was one of the many dismissive responses I was met with when I tried to reach out and talk with club managers here in Bali about issues of safety. We don't care what happens to girls in our clubs. To me, that's what those phone calls translated into. In a world where difficult conversations are often avoided, where rocks remain unturned, where some of the most uncomfortable truths are gathered up like dirty laundry and packed into a suitcase. The suitcase sits in a corner of a room. We see it, we know it's there, but no one dares to ever open it. Today, I'm going to talk with you about these uncomfortable truths. As you listen, focus on what it makes you think about, how it makes you feel. While your initial thought may be, this is awful, and then your quiet voice may guiltily think, thank goodness this is someone else's problem. Well, I'm afraid that since 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will suffer sexual violence in their lifetimes, at least 100 people in this room will have to confront this trauma. And sadly, many people sitting here likely already have. That's the reality I'm facing, and I'm here to spark this conversation, to address the ignorance and apathy, to go beyond the idea that this happens to other people, to go behind the silence and bring awareness to an issue that affects millions of people every year, including people right here in beautiful, tranquil Bali. I wanted to bring safety through understanding to the unaware. I've often wondered what it would be like to not live in fear of my safety at the hands of others. I'm sure many people here share this same fear. Violence towards women and girls isn't just in one place, one location, one relationship, one interaction. Every place has its dangers. Women know this. Even here in Bali. Bali's safe, picturesque image can easily be popped by the dangers people turn a blind eye to. And as people from all over the world flock to this tiny island, the threat continues to grow. Such a prominent issue needs to be addressed, talked about, and confronted, so that people both individually and collectively can help to drive down these statistics. Ignorance doesn't change reality, but reality itself can be changed by action. I was motivated to do something that would make an actual difference for women, either living or visiting Bali. I decided that a practical place to start would be to speak with club managers to find out what they might already be doing. I had the idea that perhaps I could help to bring awareness raising and safeguarding measures to help their customers stay safe. And this is not a new idea. Bars and clubs all around the world have the materials to do this. Signs in the back of doors in women's bathrooms, special code words for people to say to staff if they feel unsafe, training for staff to look out for and react to any issues on their premises. I came at this wondering whether bars and clubs were doing this here. It seemed logical that they would want to care for their customers. I thought it would be straightforward, helping them to help themselves lower their reputational and safety risks, ultimately helping their business. I figured this would be common sense, and if businesses were not doing it already, they would think of adopting these ideas as a basic first step. But even coming at it from this perspective, I was denied any information or even the time of a conversation. No one wants to talk about the fact that date rape, drugs, high levels of intoxication, aggression, and isolation are risks that can lead to sexual harassment or assault, and that this happens in the bars and clubs of Bali. Bali is a special place, but it is not so different as to be immune to the world. Regardless of my persistent phone calls, messages, and emails, I was met with the same response. We don't want to talk to you about the safety of our customers. Did they not want to talk to me about the safety of their customers, or was it that they did not want to admit the lack of safety surrounding them? As Gandhi said, actions express priorities, and it was clear that the safety of women was not priority. This harsh reality finally had a single exception. I managed to get a meeting with a club manager in Canggu, and I don't think it was a coincidence that this manager was a woman. Even the club itself is owned by a woman. Our conversation, sitting in an office at the back of a club one hot Bali afternoon, air conditioning blasting, was truly shocking. She went on to tell me that there's at least one female passed out in the bathroom of her club per week. Blacklisted customers, identified for the trouble that they bring to the clubs, are kept on a list. And this list grows significantly every month due to their suspicious or aggressive behaviors. She even revealed to me that she has been roofied in Bali one night while actually working at the bar that she manages. Thankfully, she managed to get herself help before blacking out. She understood the fear stemming from this deep-rooted problem, the rapid acceleration of the party scene in Bali. People too busy profiting that not only want to sweep this under the rug by ignoring the reality, their business strategy may actively enable it. Free flow for women, free entry for women. Ignorance is one thing, but some clubs are literally creating an environment where the safety of women is willfully compromised. But in this single club that wanted to talk, she did go to lengths to explain how they were facing this challenge. Training their staff, training their security to look out for specific behaviors of men, taking care of women who find themselves in difficult situations, even extending that duty of care to make sure that they got home safe. But why was this club trying to help their customers stay safe and trying to prevent issues from happening in their clubs such an exception? Because as for the vast majority, these owners and managers don't want this to be an issue, avoiding the topic so that it somehow won't be a reality, and this idea is terrifying. A willful ignorance that enables this to continue happening. Denial that is undeniably harmful. So I changed course. I looked beyond Bali at other groups and organizations that were trying to address these issues in other countries. No More is a worldwide organization dedicated to eradicating domestic and sexual violence. No more silence. It supports groups and campaigns around the world, building a network of advocates and supporting them. I was lucky enough to make contact with them, and I formed a meaningful connection. Our research work that they've done to try to figure out how I fit into all of this. I felt small in a world overshadowed by big problems. But with their help, I was able to bounce back from the paralysis and fear that I would not be able to make a difference. Drawing on their deep experience, they gave me advice on how to move forward, helping to tell the untold and providing support to people to hear these kinds of stories. As a part of this journey, I put together an exhibition to help give voice to these untold stories. Behind the Silence was an exhibition I hosted right here at Greenstone that was set up as both a physical and emotional journey. Imagine tents where each side of the canvas displays full-color photos of Bali, beautiful and iconic images of this magical island. This panorama greeted visitors as they stepped into the sun cup, a trail of petals to guide them through the exhibition, the smell of incense providing a quintessential ambiance. Then, visitors were invited to stoop down and go inside of each tent. There, within those cramped confines, having to crouch or kneel pressed to the underside of the canvases, they entered a space where the truth was revealed. Simple black text on white material. Individual truths. Raw, unvarnished, inescapable. Each beginning with the same simple line. I was 14. I was 13. I was 11. 7 stories in all, each hidden behind the veneer if all we did was glance across the room. All 7 stories are the truths anonymously written by people from within our school community. This is not someone else's reality. This is not distant to our world. This is intertwined within our life here. People in this room. People that you know. Some, sadly, probably most, have never had the chance to talk about what happened to them. This exhibition was a first step. To open our eyes to what is right in front of us. The aim wasn't to shock or to scare. It was to start conversations so we can create safe spaces to raise awareness and share stories in an environment that doesn't ignore. To help people realize and recognize that they are not alone. To know that in a room of 300 people, 100 may share a similar experience to their own. At the end of the exhibition, people were presented by a simple question. Now what? The handwritten post-it notes crowded onto a single pinboard have to be some of the most heartbreaking things anyone could ever read. They included people sharing their own stories and the realizations of the fact that these are real experiences that generate and hold real trauma, and that they all come from this space right here, maybe even the person sitting right next to you. We see you, we believe you, and it is not your fault. Ignorance stems from not knowing, but ignoring is choosing not to act. Stories of sexual assault and violence are delicate, hard to talk about, and hard to hear. Reality isn't kind. The truth can be hard to face. By confronting deeply rooted prejudices, creating welcoming spaces, and giving voice to those impacted, we may start to break down the oppressive systems that enable and permit gender-based violence to continue. Are we silent or are we silenced? The silence is deafening for every person labeled a victim and for everyone who has ever been blamed for being one. How many of us here are part of the over 500 million women in the world that have been subjected to sexual violence in their lifetimes? How many of us have lost our innocence because of it over and over again? I'm not saying all men. I'm saying too many women. Too many people are impacted for this issue to continue to be censored. The sheer number of people being affected becomes so big they almost lose their meaning. Individual people become faceless. Faceless people become numbers. Numbers become statistics. Statistics so large that we feel overwhelmed, helpless. So we turn away, disagree, and ignore. But ignorance is not the same as plain ignoring. This is not the type of world that I want to live in. We are society. We have the power to make change, to influence and affect the concentric circles of our lives and those of the people around us. I'm calling on each of you to be the change you want to see in the world. I'm sharing this problem despite how uncomfortable it might make you feel, but I'm unapologetically asking you to join me in the light and start thinking about what's really going on behind the silence. If not us, then who? Offering drink-spiking test kits in clubs, apps to alert us unsafe paths, and suggesting we arm our purses with pepper sprays are merely superficial solutions. Band-aids on bullet wounds. We cannot continue to shy away from enacting real change. The blame falls squarely on the perpetrators and the venues that complacently enable them. It's time that they're held accountable. And the first step is to speak the truth. I'm encouraging you to ask the hard questions, to talk about subjects that are so stigmatized that they become muzzled. I was just a kid when I became a part of these statistics. I was a kid, but I spoke with the police only to be re-silenced by their inaction. I'm still a kid. I'm 17. I'm about to graduate into the world, but before I do, I am here giving voice to our stories. And now, I have one last question for you. How old will you be before we stop ignoring the silenced voices all around us and finally open up that suitcase? Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's provided me support through this process, and my family, my friends, Ibu Kate, Pac George, Ibu Harriet, the No More Foundation, and everyone who's been here for me providing support and guidance through this journey and exhibition. Thank you.